Hello everyone. So in this video we are going to talk about pathogenesis of obesity. Now I have tried to simplify it as much as possible using a schematic diagram. So we have to first understand that we have three parts here in which we are going to understand this pathogenesis. We have a peripheral afferent system that is going to send signals, and these signals will reach our central processing system, and through central processing system the signal will go into efferent system, okay, which will do some changes, that is changes in the food intake and energy expenditure. So let's start with where we begin, the peripheral afferent suppressing signals or the stimulating signals. The suppressing signals can be through the adipocytes which secrete leptin or adiponectin. Now, adiponectin is something that is also known as guardian angel against obesity. In obese person, there is low level of adiponectin. This is also a cause for insulin resistance in such patients. Okay, and adiponectin is also responsible for thermogenesis. We also have gut hormones involved, that are insulin. Along with insulin, we know we have release of amylin. We have the polypeptide YY that is secreted by L cells of colon and ileum. We have glucagon like peptide 1. Now these their application you will understand when we will study about the drugs used in obesity. Now these are the suppressing signals, and these will suppress the central processing. We have appetite stimulating signals, which include the gut hormones ghrelin that is secreted by oxyntic cells within the fundus and the arcuate nucleus of hypothalamus. Also obestatin, that is also from which is also coded by the same gene that codes for ghrelin and has counter regulatory action but still stimulates the central processing. So we have either the suppressing signal reaching the central system, or the stimulating signal, based on what patient is in what situation patient actually is in right now. Okay, now central processing either can be a suppressing pathway or a stimulating pathway. Let's study about the suppressing pathway first, that is central appetite suppressing pathway. Now this is also known as anorexigenic pathway or leptin melanocortin pathway. Here the leptin, which is also suppressing signal, will convert into pro-opiomelanocortin, which with the help of P convertase 1 will convert into alpha melanocyte stimulating hormone. The alpha melanocyte stimulating hormone is what we need to remember by heart, because this is something which is the final result of our central appetite suppressing pathway. This is going to bring changes in our efferent system. Now efferent system, that is the that includes two components, the food intake and the energy expenditure. There is a balance that fluctuates and decides whether the stimulating pathway will be stimulated, or the appetite stimulatory pathway or the suppressing pathway will be activated, is decided here. So in case we have alpha melanocyte stimulating hormone excess, the food intake will be decreased, okay, by the person. The melanocyte stimulating hormone suppresses the food intake, plus it increases the energy expenditure. Okay, now energy expenditure is in three forms. The 70% of energy is consumed in maintaining the basal metabolic rate, the 10% in food thermogenesis, that is absorption, digestion of food, and 5 to 10% in our physical activity. Okay, let's talk about the stimulating pathway. The stimulating pathway is the one which include neuropeptide Y and agouti related protein pathway. Now these stimulate the secondary neuron, which are going to release melanocyte concentrating hormone and the orexin, and these one are the one which are going to inhibit the energy expenditure, plus will stimulate the food intake. Okay, this was a summary. Let's try to understand what actually is happening. Okay, I will try to give you example. Consider the patient eats a lot of food. Okay, so when a person eats a lot of food, the peripheral appetite suppressing signals will start to get activated. So leptin will be released. Leptin binds to the central processing pathway. Binding of leptin will activate an orexigenic pathway. Leptin will form pro-melanocortin, which will increase melanocyte stimulating hormone. Remember, the patient has eaten a lot and the suppressing pathway is activated, and the patient now needs to stop eating. So melanocyte stimulating hormone will decrease the food intake and make the patient increase the energy expenditure. The leptin itself increases the thermogenesis as well as increases the physical activity. This is how, after eating a lot, the suppressing signal decreases the food intake, increases the energy expenditure. Consider the opposite. The patient is on fasting, okay, and is hungry. The gut hormones ghrelin will be released. The ghrelin will activate the central processing pathway, which will activate the neuropeptide Y and agouti related protein pathway. The secondary neuron will release MCH and orexin. That will decrease the energy expenditure to save the energy since patient is hungry and increase the food intake. This is how everything is going on, and this is how the we need to understand obesity's pathogenesis. Plus, but this is more complex than what we have understood till now. We also have central neurotransmitter which influence this process, like dopamine and serotonin are what are the inhibitors, okay, for food intake. They inhibit the food intake, and opioids are one that increases the food intake. So a person who is under opioids will be more hungry, okay, rather than a normal person. So this is what we needed to know about the pathophysiology behind obesity. Hope you understood it. Thanks for watching.